Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kat, and today we are doing the book and booktuber recommendations tag. This tag was created by Ellen at the Ellen Made Book Club, and it has a few really cool prompts. So the first one is response. The person who tagged you recommended a book for you in their video. Let us know what book that was, if you had read it before or since, and if you think it was a good recommendation for you. So Ellen recommended Goddess Complex by Sanjana Satyan to me, and this book is a South Asian book where we're following Sanjana, who is looking for her missing husband because she wants to finalize their divorce. Her and her husband got separated because they had different ideas, I think, on having children or not. And so while she's trying to find her husband, she has to navigate life while everybody around her is obsessed with marriage, mortgages, and motherhood. I haven't read it yet because it came out only a few days ago at the time of filming this. But I think it was the perfect recommendation. It hit so many of my boxes. It's South Asian literature, which is something I'm very interested about. I studied Hindi many years ago and had a class on Indo-English literature, which I absolutely adored. So that's the first thing. It's about motherhood and the decision of having children or not. I am child-free, and this is a topic I'm very interested about. So again, something I'm quite keen to pick up. It's a feminist book. Again, like so many things I am excited to read about. I'm doing a low buy project at the moment, so I'm really trying not to purchase too many books, but I might have to use one of my Joker cards to get my hand on this book because it sounds absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Ellen, for the recommendation because it was not on my radar at all, and now I'm obsessed. I really want to read it. Return the favor. Recommend a book back to the person who tagged you or whose video you watched and tell us why you choose that book for that person. So for Helen, I want to recommend The Invisible Life of Eddie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. It's a book I just recently finished and I absolutely adored it. I think it's classified as fantasy, but it's fairly low on the fantasy. It has obviously speculative elements to it, but it's more, I guess, in the realm of magical realism, maybe to a degree. It's between magical realism and fantasy, I would say. So basically we are following Addie, who is a young woman who grows up in the 1700s. She is about to get married to a man whose first wife passed away, and she doesn't want to get married. She feels like if she does, she will not really live her life. She will be stuck in her little village in France and die where she was born and not experience life. And she is someone who's very curious, who wants to see the world and explore. And so she's quite desperate to get out of this situation. And so she ends up striking a deal with a mysterious old god who gives her the time she wants and the freedom that she wants. And so she ends up being immortal and being able to live many, many, many years. But the catch is that nobody remembers her. Again, I think this book was fantastic. I think the characters are super intriguing. I feel very real. I think the writing is beautiful. It's very accessible, but with a tinge of literary writing. I think it's a wonderful blend. And I think Ellen might like this because she absolutely loved Pure Innocy. And I haven't read Pure Innocy, so I can't really compare. And I think those books are very different, but I think they both have this speculative element with beautiful writing. I think The Invisible of Addie LaRue also has some feminist elements. It features a strong female character. And yeah, overall it's a fantastic book. So I'm thinking that this could be something that Ellen will enjoy as well. Pay it forward. Choose 3 to 10 booktubers that you want to tag. Recommend a book to each of them and tell us why you think they would like it, based on their reading habits or taste and the book. So the first booktuber I want to tag is Kat from the Kite Bite channel. She is also a fantasy and nonfiction reader. We have, I think, quite similar tastes. And so I want to recommend some nonfiction to her, because I think she reads quite a bit on nonfiction about kind of social issues and also feminist topics, things like that. So my favorite nonfiction book of all time is Merchants of Doubt. I've already mentioned it on the channel, so maybe it's already on her radar. So I think something that might be new to her are the books from Mona Chollet, who is a French author and journalist, very feminist leaning, and her works have been translated into English. She's a fantastic writer. Her books are very popular here in French. And so I think there are probably a few from her that Kat might appreciate. Next, I want to tag Mimi from It's Mimi Duong channel. And Mimi is a reader of romance and mangas and manhwas. And she is now dipping her toes into fantasy, which I'm very excited about, and I want to encourage that. So for Mimi, I would like to recommend An Enchantment of Ravens and or A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Those are both standalone fantasies, so I think for someone who is starting with fantasy, it's easier to read standalones in the beginning rather than dive into big series. Although I know that she's read The Poppy War, so looks like she's not scared by a whole series. But I think those are very good for someone who is a bit newer to fantasy. There is a romance element to it, although I think it's more closed door kind of romance, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think the world building is really fun. I had a wonderful time with those books, and I think Mimi might appreciate them as well. Next, I want to tag Chelsea from Libraries and Lattes. And Chelsea is reading quite widely. She reads fantasy, she reads contemporary and literary fiction, she reads historical fiction, she reads a lot of things. And for Chelsea, I want to recommend Playing Games by Uma Qureshi, because she loved Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. We did a buddy read of it together, which was really, really lovely. And so those books are quite different, but I think there is some overlap as well, which makes me think that Chelsea might appreciate it. So in Playing Games, we're following two sisters. The first one is Mira, who is an aspiring writer, but she's feeling creatively stuck. She can't make progress, and so she is working day to day in a cafe to make ends meet, and she's a bit frustrated with her situation. She's not happy with her life. On the other hand, we have Hannah, who is the older sister and who seems like she has the perfect home, the perfect marriage, the perfect job. She's very accomplished. And so you can already sense some kind of potential tension between those two sisters. And one day, Mira overhears an argument between Hannah and her husband, something that she's not supposed to hear, but that sparks her creativity and her inspiration. And so she starts writing. I think this is a lovely piece of literary fiction. I think it was a debut as well. And so from Hello Beautiful, you can also find in this the dynamics between the sister, family relationships, and that kind of literary aspect to it as well. And finally, I want to tag Jade Juniper, and I want to recommend Cemetery Boys to her. I know it's already on her radar and on her TBR, but I really want her to read it because I want to have someone to talk about it, and I hope she likes it as much as I did. But because this one is already on her TBR, I also want to recommend The Mirror Visitor by Christelle Dabos, because Jade is also a big reader of fantasy. She also writes fantasy, and so her first novel, A Solstice Court, somehow makes me think of The Mirror Visitor. I haven't read The Solstice Court yet, but it's definitely on my TBR, and so it's presented as a cozy political fantasy, and I think there might be similar elements to it in The Mirror Visitor, where we are following Ophelia, who is a young woman living on an arch called Anima, and she is betrothed to a man from another arch. It's an arranged it's an arranged marriage. She has to leave her family, leave her home to travel to this faraway land and marry this man, and is thrown into similar like political intrigues and dangerous schemes and all of that. It's beautifully written. It's supposed to be YA, but I think it's very adult in the theme it covers and touches on, in the way it's written, and it's truly fantastic. So yeah, I hope Jade decides to pick it up and loves it as much as I do. Open invitation. Recommend a book that you think anyone would like or that you think anyone should read. This recommendation serves as an open invitation to anyone who hasn't been tagged. So I think a book that everyone will love is impossible, because we all have different tastes and different interests and all that. So I'm not even gonna touch that or attempt that. But a book I think everyone should read is Empire of Normality by Robert Chapman. It is a book looking at the intersection of psychiatry and capitalism, and how the growth of both have led to the birth of this idea of a normal mind, and how this, what they call Empire of Normality, transformed how we see the body and the mind as an object of productivity, and how it's hurting every one of us. So I think it is a fantastic read. It's fairly short, it is quite dense, but still very accessible, and I think it is fascinating and also eye-opening if you have never thought about neurodivergence and what the implications might be, and why it might be a struggle for people with neurodivergence to live in the current world that we have with this capitalist system. I think it is a crucial read, so highly, highly recommend. So that's it for today. I thought it was such a fun tag, and I'm so glad that Ellen created it. Thank you, Ellen, for this lovely addition to our collections of book tags. I absolutely loved it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.